I joined Gloucestershire. Can you hear me? Okay, yep. I joined Gloucestershire Council in 2010 as the Sustainability Officer, with my role based around running sustainability, environmental and social programs. Oh, and by the way, could I go and check on the contractors at Landfill to make sure they were doing the right thing? Through various management changes at Council, waste regulation changes, and the grant and training that became available, the casual fling with waste has become a marriage. This is our landfill when the contractors had it. My world is now dominated by waste and waste issues. So briefly, I want to introduce you to Gloucester. What a place. Fantastic place. And the historical context of waste here, and touch on the reasons for the need for change. I will take you briefly through the transition of the landfill from on-ground changes, including the building of a weighbridge, a contract to a council-run landfill, and the introduction of fees and charges within 3 years. I will also end with our achievements, and some points I think are important to consider during this process. Wow, there we are, there's Gloucester. So Gloucester is located around 264 kilometres north of Sydney on the mid-north coast in the foothills of the World Heritage Barrington Tops National Park. Our shire area is around 2,952 kilometres squared. And if you drove up from Sydney or Newcastle, we're just before all those roadworks. So this is the main street of Gloucester. There's the pub, there's the main hub of Gloucester. And we have a population of around 5,000 people, with 2,000 of which live in town. And the majority of the population are 55 years or older. This is some of the countryside around Gloucester. The majority of the employment is in agriculture, followed by social services including council and the retail trade. So waste in Gloucester, it's within the leviable area. We have one landfill located on a quarry site, which has been there for around 30 years. Historically, there have been a few management documents or systems on site. Waste has been burnt and buried, and it's been a contractor run with no fees and charges until late 2014. A number of issues led to the changes at the landfill. Primarily, there was a lack of on-site control. We had contamination in the green waste, inappropriate facilities, and stockpiles of recyclables. We also had issues with behaviour, and not in the way that you would think of littering and illegal dumping, but more so that people were very tidy. So they'd come into the landfill, there were no fees and charges, they'd come into the landfill with their bag of rubbish and put it into the landfill. And of course, at that stage, we had no weighbridge, and we were deeming in all of these vehicles into the landfill, and our levy was rising exponentially. So we also had environmental concern over the lack of on-site control. So to identify how we were going to transition to a more desirable waste system, we went through a detailed planning process, drawing on the expertise of contractors who were not only professional and capable, but genuinely interested and very, very patient. From these plans and strategic documents, it became evident that we would need major on-site changes. It would be more effective environmentally and economically to have a council-run landfill, and we were also able to inform council of the imperative to introduce fees and charges. So here we are, on-ground changes. The planning started in 2011, with the documents completed around 2014. Well, these documents, we're still in the planning process. The on-ground changes started in mid-2014 and were completed by October of that year, when we transitioned fully from a contractor run to a council run landfill. So this is the location of the landfill, that little red area there. It's 16 hectares in size, and the slide on the right-hand side shows you the landfill, half of which we operate, and the other half we don't operate in at this stage. So how we were, this is the entrance to the landfill. Just have a look at that hill on it's different on my screen, but on the right-hand side, just keep that in mind because it's going to go soon. The entrance to the landfill is round to the left there. This is another shot of the entrance where you can see stockpiling on site. As you go through that entrance there, you did come to the tip face where you put out all the rubbish. So these were our storage areas. As you can see, when it rains, when it rained, it was very muddy. Our storage areas were not put together very well either. And this was our tip face. So we had a very little sorting. We had no compaction. That is our machinery on site. This is a rubber-tired tractor, so no compaction whatsoever, and a very large tip face area. So we did some detailed planning through Alan Taylor and Associates, and this is the plan of the on-ground changes at the landfill. We changed the entrance to the landfill, which included a weighbridge, the green waste area. It's very difficult to see from this area, but the green waste area was enlarged and taken away from the tip face. There was sealed roads in major trafficable areas, appropriate areas where household rubbish and recyclables could be placed without going to the tip face itself. And there was also an area for the community recycling centre for problem wastes. So here we are on ground doing the construction. And the picture, the largest picture, to describe it, on the right-hand side, that one, that's where that hill was that I asked you to think about. So we took that hill out so that we could actually site the weighbridge. We had a number of constrictions. One was the entranceway, and the other one was where that big shed is, up on the left-hand side of that picture. So here we had major earthworks. We had the inclusion of the weighbridge. At the time when we put all of this infrastructure in, there was no power and no water on site. We did a cost-benefit analysis and decided that we'd put in solar. So the whole of the weighbridge operates on solar. And we also did some revegetation work as well. There is also a picture up there of the community recycling centre. This one here. That's in process at that stage. So here we are in 2016, always a work in progress. So on the left-hand side, you can see this is the entrance to the landfill. Drive over that weighbridge, and you come round to the community recycling centre, which is the photo at the bottom left. Left. We now have our green waste is now mulched and stockpiled. It's away from the tip face, so we have very little contamination, and we're actually getting it off site. The bottom photo here is of crushed glass. We like to showcase reuse and recycle, so we have put in a pathway here to illustrate what you can do with some crushed glass. We now have an operational op shop, which is one of the best op shops around. So if you want a bargain, come to Gloucester op shop. It's a fantastic place. And we also have appropriate machinery as well. We have a compactor and a front end loader as well on site. And the most important thing about this photo is the top right-hand corner, which is the staff at the landfill. And they are the ones that really run this place. Without them, this place wouldn't function in the same way that it does. They're a complete asset to the landfill. And this is what it looks like from the air. So you come in through the main driveway up through that area there. We have the weighbridge and then the op shop behind it. This is the quarry here. It's an operational quarry which we will go into the future. And the tip face is right. It's actually off the photo, so you can't actually see it there. So, with the changes at the landfill, we've had some interesting and at times unexpected behaviour change from the public. Despite a concerted communication program and the changes around the changes and the fees and charges being low, there was initially great dissatisfaction with paying fees and charges at the landfill. We had a staff member go out on stress leave, not to return after one encounter. Thankfully, this behaviour has dissipated, and we're receiving far more compliments than complaints. So we also had less traffic at the landfill as well, and incidentally, J.R. Richards' truck drivers were telling us that there were more waste bins put out. We had 50 more waste bins put out on the curbside a day after the fees and charges were introduced. So it just shows that people were using the infrastructure that they had to utilise that, to put the waste into them. We've had increased recycling, and we now have a community at the op shop. We have people who come to the op shop to buy things, to talk to the guys, to see how to reuse and recycle. And we now have pride and ownership of the new landfill site. So this is the waste and recycling in Gloucester by tonne over time. You can see there's a reduction in waste. We have a spike in recycling off-site, and this is because this is when the contractors left the site. They'd been stockpiling recyclables over time, and this is when they actually left the site and took all the recyclables with them. You can see that it drops away again, but it's higher than when the initial time in 2012 and 13, and is on the rise again. And there's also a green line for the green waste. We don't charge for green waste, and that is basically flatlining. So our achievements: we reduced the waste and levy paid. We have pride in ownership of our landfill site. We have a great op shop, and we also have a Facebook site if anyone wants to go on there. And the Facebook site also highlights environmental issues and environmental things around reuse, recycle. We have good environmental management outcomes and state awards. So Gloucester won the waste category in 2015 for its population size in the Keep New South Wales Beautiful Tidy Towns, now Blue Star Award, for recycling of silage wrap, which is an initiative of Midwaste, our volunteer waste group. This award contributed to Gloucester winning the 2015 State Keep New South Wales Beautiful Sustainable Communities Award. Through this ongoing project and my experience over the last 5 years, I wanted to raise a few points for consideration into the future. The waste and recycling industry is moving very quickly, and as such, there are many new people with a passion, but little to no experience. Gaining this experience and knowledge takes time. With the many changes in regulation and on-ground changes and training required to meet those regulations, this lack of experience and knowledge base can see delays in on-ground changes. This is especially so with councils as they cut staff and budgets to show that they are fit for the future. Secondly, there appears to be no consideration in the new landfilling guidelines for rural landfills. The cost of complying with these guidelines, which most people seem to take as regulation, will be large. As in Victoria, consideration for rural landfills, which are generally likely to be low risk, needs to be implemented. And finally, I believe there needs to be funding from the EPA towards on-site environmental issues at landfills. In my experience, historic landfills have some sort of systemic low-grade environmental issue that are difficult and or expensive to fix. These issues have not been dealt with in this round of funding. And I'd like to finish on this note. This is a black-necked stork. It's endangered in New South Wales and an infrequent visitor to Gloucester, funnily enough. Earlier this year, as I was going home, I saw a pair of them on a dam just outside of town. On returning to work, I excitedly emailed everyone asking if others had seen the bird. One of my colleagues emailed this picture back to me. And for those of you who don't know the landfill very well, this is actually at the landfill. This is the entrance to the landfill. That's the shed. The shed behind is the weighbridge shed. So he had photoshopped the bird in there for me. This is actually, there's fish in this little fish tank here. Yeah, but I love this photo though, because it speaks to me about the transition of our landfill from an area of environmental concern to one where the black-necked stork would want to visit. So thank you.